In Chicago, two comedian skeptics named Andy and Art were mysteriously abducted by the illusionary mastermind and conspiracy theorist known only as Mr. Bunker. The following serves as a record of Bunker's attempt to convince non-believers of the truth about conspiracies and paranormal activity. Andy and Art give an uninterrupted presentation and verdict on the plausibility of these offbeat topics, delivering what they call the whole enchilada. Will Mr. Bunker convince these two skeptics any of this is real? Will it convince you?
To Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast. As always, I'm your co-host, Arthur Stone. And with me, as always, is your co-host, Andy Hunt. He's evil.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know. For fun.
We're kooky. We're spooky. We're all together ooky.
We're all that above, listeners. And today's topic's no different. It's spooky. It's spooky. It's stanky.
It's stinky. It's inky.
It's not Blinky and the other Pac-Man ghosts.
Carl.
Is one of them named Carl?
I don't know.
Okay. The blue one is Carl. No, today we're talking about the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Mm-hmm.
A weird incident of either mass hysteria encompassing an entire town.
Right.
Or a creepy night prowler stalking the night, gassing people's homes.
It's either a case of people getting swept up in mass hysteria or suffering actual chemical attacks.
Of a small town in the state, our home state of Illinois.
Illinois.
Come on, Illinois. Thank you, Cheap Trick. Right?
Quiet Riot.
Oh, that's what you were doing. But Cheap Trick has a album called Illinois.
Right. Yeah, I think
so. I think I'm right on that. I'm gonna place a bet and say I'm right on
Cheap
that.
Trick, if you're listening, let us know if we got that right.
Yeah, let us know, Cheap Trick. Big fans. Andy's all right. Artie's all right. They just seem a little scared. Surrender. Anyway, listeners, if you want to surrender yourselves to the research and not have to listen to Andy and I do a short but sweet intro bit, okay, it's only 20 minutes. It's all right. There's no reason to get worked up about it and roast our asses in the comments, okay? You can just skip right ahead because there's a timestamp in the show notes descriptions. Check out those show notes. Find that timestamp. Skip right ahead. We'll give you a second. Okay, that was your second. You know?
Did you get it?
Did you get it? You can skip right ahead to the research. You don't have to listen to us goof around. We're just doing little goofs.
We're just abduction story goofing.
We're just goofing. We just want to talk about how Mr. Bunker abducted us to the bunker this week so that we could get ready to present the whole enchilada of the research. And this is
mad gas enchilada.
The mad gas enchilada. This is the titular Mr. Bunker. We should really be clarifying more often, Andy, that it's the titular Mr. Bunker, because I feel like people are going to be listening and they're going to be like, are they talking about this other Mr. Bunker? Are they talking about, all the other bunkers out there? No, we're talking about the titular Mr. Bunker of Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast.
This is his podcast.
Yeah.
He abducts us.
Right.
We serve his bidding.
If you didn't listen to the first episode, you might not be in on the lore. He's a very bashful man.
He's shy.
He's incredibly shy.
He's a little sweetie.
He has no problem dressing up in elaborate costumes and capturing us. But when it comes to being on mic, he says, no, thank you.
Doesn't like the sound of his own voice.
That's right. And so he found two of the most
Art
vain...
and I, as you guess, can't get enough of the sound of our own voices.
That's right. That's where I was going. He found the two most vain dudes with no shame who could give less of a shit.
Yeah, just let us talk forever.
So anyway, we're going to let you know how he captured us this week. And Andy, You're excited about yours today. I can tell. I can see it in your face.
I was in the bunker role.
I can see it in your eyes.
To be honest with you.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I mean by that is that I was in a position of feeling some anxiety about myself. I was feeling self-conscious.
That doesn't happen often.
No. What happened was I was waiting for the Red Line train downtown, and I'm on the train platform.
That's right.
Which is where the trains arrive and depart. I see, oftentimes, for people who aren't familiar with the Chicago mass transit system, oftentimes what you will see at train platforms is buskers, people who are performing, whether it be music or singing or whatever.
That's right.
They're doing it for money at the train stations. And there was a tap dancing busker.
Cute. You don't see that very often.
Not very common.
You don't see physical performance very often.
But there's a tap dancer at the train station, and the trains are a little bit delayed. As is the case with the Chicago Transit Authority, the CTA. So I'm waiting down at the train platform, and this tap dancer's dancing, and some people are watching him. Again, it's a unique thing. People are kind of into it. This guy is like trying to challenge me to a dance off. He's
goading you on.
He's got to bring it on kind of scenario going. He's trying to serve me. Right? So.
And we're not talking food.
No.
Or a slip of paper.
Yeah, he's not
summoning you to court.
He's not a process server.
Right.
He's just trying to dance.
He's trying to roast your ass through the art of dance.
Right.
He's going to serve your ass.
I'm bashful about it. I don't know how to tap dance. I'm not a trained dancer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even judge that I'm a good dancer. I don't dance that often.
Right.
So I don't know much about dance. So I'm hesitant to do this. I don't want to do it. Plus I'm just waiting for the train,
Yeah, you're trying to,
I just kind of want to be left alone, right? And the guy keeps dancing, and he's getting closer and closer to me. And he's getting kind of aggressive about it. So I'm just like, okay, I just need to get this over with. What's the worst that could happen? He'll serve me.
Yeah.
I'll go about my day.
You'll get roasted, whatever.
So I decide I'm going to try to dance a little bit. Okay. The crowd that's kind of gathered around, as this guy's kind of goading me on a little bit.
Right.
There's a crowd starting to watch. They really, really hate my dancing.
Oh,
they start booing me.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah. And really intensely booing me.
Oh, wow.
And a CTA worker comes to the platform to calm things down. It's one of these, CTA people who's cleaning up and is on the platform and comes over to try to calm things down. So the CTA worker asked me to stop dancing because the crowd hates it so much. But I have too much momentum built up to just immediately stop. I can't just put the brakes on. I gotta finish the move.
Yeah.
And the CTA worker starts getting really agitated by that.
Yeah.
And so starts they've got a broom and they start sweeping me with the broom, hitting me with the broom.
Oh wow.
And
this is bad.
This worker's kind of fired up and sweeps me into one of these trash cans on wheels. Just sweeps me right into it. And then the CTA worker hops on the trash can and rides it up out of the train platform and then into the streets. And that's when the worker rips off their face and it's bunker.
Oh my God.
Then he just brings the trash can back to the bunker, rides it all the way to the bunker. He looks like the Joker in The Dark Knight hanging his head out the taxi window. That's what Mr. Bunker looked like. And I have to tell you,
you're trash.
That trash can was very wet. I don't know why he does these things. Why it is that he can't just put me into a clean trash bag. But nobody was going to call him out on this.
Yeah.
Who cares? He rode away on the trash can. People are already what?
Yeah.
what's this CTA employee doing, sweeping a human into a trash can and then riding away?
Like a Segway.
It's not like, oh, the realism will be killed if the trash can's not actually full of garbage. And why did it have to be wet garbage?
It's not
he
like
couldn't just throw some like paper in there. I mean, this is so annoying.
You're fired up about this.
I got
garbage.
a wet butt. Garbage wet butt.
I mean, Andy, I feel bad for you getting roasted, getting served.
I got swamp ass. Garbage wet swamp ass.
And then you have to sit in a wet trash can like that. I mean, that's
the whole way to the bunker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
BS.
You know, occasionally people on the CTA platforms want to look inside the CTA workers' trash cans, be like, "What do you got in there?" You know, we are wont to do.
This is like from personal experience.
Oh yeah,
yeah. What's going on in there?
What do you got in there? What are you packing?
Is there any real trash in there? I don't think you're working.
Is it what?
What's my tax dollars going for? Huh? Smart guy.
Well, Andy, I mean, I feel bad. I feel like you are upset about the garbage more because you got roasted, you got served, you got bested by that dancer.
You think that I wouldn't? You think I would have not minded as much a wet garbage ride?
I think you're really upset about being served.
Which is what they used to call having sex with me in college. Getting a wet garbage ride.
Only in college.
Yeah. Well, when I got older, people didn't care about it as much.
Wet garbage ride. No, I think you spend most of your day in filth. So I don't understand why you're that upset about wet garbage. I think you're really upset that you got roasted on your dancing.
Look, it didn't feel good.
You.
I didn't even want to dance. It was like showtime at the Apollo. They should have just let me go, made me go. But no.
It's hard out there, Andy. You put yourself out there and you got...
I didn't put myself out there. I was
burned.
just waiting for the train. The tap dancer did this to me.
You had
the tap dancer should be ashamed.
You had options. Well, Andy, I'm sorry that happened to you. You know, I don't think that's very fun.
It was not fun.
Swamp I had a bit of... Swamp ass. Skunk ape. Swamp ass.
The skunk ape.
I had a bit of a scare with my abduction story here today,
Oh,
Andy.
you did?
Yeah, I did.
What happened?
You know, Andy, I used to, malls used to be a lot more prevalent in our lives. They're
moles?
not malls.
Oh.
What do you think I said?
Moles?
No, not moles. I still have those.
On your skin or in your yard?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. Malls.
Oh, malls.
Shopping malls.
Shopping malls.
Used to be a lot more prevalent in our lives. As teens, you'd gather at the mall and you'd go shop till you drop.
Oh, yeah.
It usually just involves walking around.
Look, we've all been there.
I don't think those are as prevalent today as they used to be. I think
Definitely
malls are
not.
dying away.
Malls are not in fashion anymore.
Right. Regardless, Andy, there's one mall kiosk that I've always been fascinated with, and that is the Mall Ninja kiosk. What I'm talking about is the
Mall Ninja?
There's a
heard of
subsect of person called a Mall Ninja. This is a person who, typically they're out of shape, but they think they're a warrior because they stock up on these ninja weapons that you can buy at the mall. You've seen these before? These are typically like you can get like sais and katanas and
it's like one of these kiosks that sells
glaives,
weapons.
Other things like that. Yeah.
There's a kiosk that sells weapons?
There's always a kiosk that sells weapons in the mall. And as a kid, you always want to buy one of those swords, but
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a kiosk selling weapons.
You've seen it. You know what? And these weapons are always, they're fake bullshit, but as a kid, you don't know that. Your parents know that, so they're never going to buy you. And they're also just not going to buy you a weapon. But now that I'm an adult and I can spend my own money, I decided, you know what? I'm going to get a couple weapons just because they're cool. I've always wanted to get a katana. Yeah. So I head on over to one of the mall kiosks, and who the fuck do I see working at the stall? None other than Bunker.
Mr. Bunker.
Yes, Bunker himself.
How did I know?
How did he know? He decides, I go, all right, well, I'm thinking about getting a cool katana. Maybe we can keep it in the bunker. Be kind of a cool little just thing to keep on in the bunker, you know. Joe Rogan keeps a katana in his podcast studio, and he's cool as fuck. So
you're trying.
He is the coolest that has ever existed.
You're trying to make yourself just like Joe Rogan.
Who else would you want to be but Joe Rogan? So I say, you know, like, and he hands me a Bunkshido katana. Now this katana, Bunkshido brand katanas, and I'm looking at it. It's decent, you know. It's nicely weighted. It has good cloth wrapping. You know, as far as I could tell, it had decent, you know, engravings.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I'm kind of testing it out at the mall, I'm not really doing any strong swings, but I'm making little slices here and there. Bunker pulls out his own katana.
Wow.
Comes out from the stall, lines up across from me.
Oh, he challenged you.
He challenges me. Excuse me. Sorry, I had a beef stick. Burping. He pulls out his own katana.
Yeah.
And I go. He goes, "Omae wa moi shinderu." And I go, "Nani?" And he pulls out his katana.
What?
He starts charging towards me.
What does that mean?
He starts charging towards me, Andy. I think "Omae wa moi shinderu" means you're already dead. And "Nani" means what? He starts charging towards me. All of a sudden, he teleports.
What?
Behind me. Shows up behind me, whispers in my ear, "Nothing personal, kid." When all of a sudden he takes a massive swipe. I collapse from the wound.
He cut you with the katana?
I see blood. There's a dramatic pause. I see blood pouring out from my abdomen.
Oh my God.
And I collapse from the wound. On the ground.
What?
Anime style. Bunker clicks his katana back into his sheath.
Well, how do you know?
And I
Didn't
immediately
you just say you passed out?
Yeah, that was during the dramatic pause. Then I pass out from the wound.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Then I stop. I notice the blood. And I pass out from the wound.
Gotcha.
I wake up.
Yeah.
I'm tied in the back of Bunker's immaculately recreated Tokugawa-era Japanese rickshaw. Bunker, dressed as a historically accurate Bushido Ronin warrior, is carrying me to the bunker.
Oh my God.
Andy.
The attention to detail.
I mean, listen. Andy, it turns out the katanas were made of packing styrofoam, and Bunker just squirted ketchup on my tummy. And I passed out thinking it was blood.
You dummy.
I mean, listen, I thought he got me. He still moved with lightning quick speed and teleported behind me.
You idiot.
Listen, I'm not going to try and deny it. He got me.
Yeah, you got.
I don't know Japanese weapons well. I'm not a weapons expert. I'm no Pawn Star. I don't have friends that I could bring in to help me judge the accuracy, the historical accuracy of an item.
You are a Japanese miner, though.
That's true. I have a miner.
You're a miner in Japan.
Yeah, that's right. And I've got black lung. Mining all that coal.
He's a miner, folks.
He decorated these packing foam swords so well.
Were you holding a packing foam sword?
Yes, I believe I was.
Wow.
And he squirted ketchup on my tummy so fast.
You got so hard
that I thought it was blood.
Jeez.
What
a rube.
What would you do?
What would I do? I'd freaking hog out on that ketchup. Nom, 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 nom. I love eating ketchup. Nom, 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 nom,
straight off your tummy.
Yeah. Just like an otter.
Oh, boy. Well, Andy, we got to get to a story that's even odder than an otter. This is the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Mattoon. Milady Mattoon. Speaking of mall ninjas, Mattoon. Andy, this is a weird little story. You ever heard of it before?
No.
Okay.
No.
What's that?
I never even heard of Mattoon before.
I haven't either.
I didn't grow up in Illinois, so give me a break, everybody.
It's a small town, I believe, in the south of Illinois.
I think that's right.
Well, anyway, whether it was a case of mass hysteria or an actual assailant, we will bring you the whole enchilada on the Mad Gasser of Mattoon here on Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast.
Yeah, it's south of Champaign.
As humans, we fear the unknown. Those creeping shadows outside your bedroom window. The mysterious noise heard in the basement when you're all alone. What could they be? Who could they be? Is it a figment of our imagination, or is it some mysterious mad prowler stalking the night? For one little town in Illinois, Mattoon, Illinois, that fear, whether imagined or not, felt very real in the autumn of 1944. A person typically described as a tall, slender man dressed in dark clothing, wearing a flat cap, would break into their homes and release a toxic gas causing sickness, paralysis, and nausea. More than 24 separate cases were reported to police over the span of 2 weeks in Mattoon. But scarce amounts of physical evidence was ever found, causing some to wonder, did this, quote, mad gasser actually exist? Or was this a bizarre case of mass hysteria clouding the entire town? Andy, seeing as you're our mad gasser yourself, why don't you tell us about these first attacks?
I knew it was coming, listeners. I knew Art would call me a mad gasser. You probably think that's so funny. But identity theft isn't fucking funny, Art. I've worked so hard to develop my brand as an insane, socially unstable, gassy person who farts too much. And stories like this just detract from all the hard work I do, okay? That's why Funked failed.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up old wounds.
Anyway, I'm an insane, socially unstable, gassy person. That's my brand.
I believe you.
God. Anyway, reports out of Mattoon first began on August 31st, 1944. A man named Urban Rafe was awakened in the early hours of the night, or morning rather, by a strange odor. He felt sick and nauseous and started to vomit. He asked his wife to see if they left the gas stove on overnight. But when she tried to get out of bed to check, she was unable to move. Later, after the 2 weeks of attacks, it was learned that a neighbor experienced the same effects that night.
The next night, September 1st, a similar attack occurred. At around 11 p.m., Mrs. Kearney on Marshall Avenue in Mattoon reported smelling a strong, sweet odor. At first, she thought it might have just been from some flowers outside the bedroom window. But soon, the odor became stronger and stronger, and she lost feelings in her legs. Naturally, this caused Miss Kearney to panic and scream out in terror. Her wails attracted her sister, who was staying in the other room. She noticed the strange odor and determined it was coming from the open bedroom window. Naturally, they contacted the police, but they couldn't find any trace of a prowler or a gas leak. At around 12:30 a.m., Bert Kearney, Mrs. Kearney's husband, returned home from work. He wasn't some office junkie. He was just a local taxi driver and worked late at night. I just want to clarify.
Thank you.
Anyway, Mr. Kearney pulls up to his home and sees what he later described as an unidentified tall man dressed in dark clothing wearing a tight-fitting cap, hiding close to one of the windows of his house. The prowler immediately fled, and Mr. Kearney gave chase, unaware of his wife's incident and thinking this was just some nasty peeping Tom.
Oh, he's nasty.
But the prowler escaped into the darkness.
The Kearneys reported their description of the prowler to the local media, and this description of a tall man dressed in dark clothing, wearing a tight-fitting cap, became the de facto description used for the rest of the incidents that would follow. After the attack, Mrs. Kearney reported suffering from a burning sensation on her lips and throat, which were attributed to the effects of the gas. At first, it was suspected that robbery was the primary motive for the attack. The Kearneys had a large sum of money in the house, and it was surmised that the prowler could have seen Mrs. Kearney and her sister counting it earlier that evening. Personally, if I had a large sum of money, I would have swan dived into a large pool of it a la Scrooge McDuck in the opening sequence of the original DuckTales. But hey, that's me.
That is you.
Yep, that's what I would do.
4 days later, on September 5th, the third attack took place. Carl and Beulah Cords of North 21st Street returned home at around 10 p.m. after a night out. After a few minutes, they noticed a strange white cloth, about the size of a handkerchief, sitting on their porch next to the screen door. Beulah picked up the cloth and noticed a strange smell coming from it. So she gave it a big whiff, as you do with any weird piece of trash you find on your porch.
Yeah.
As soon as she did, though, she became violently ill. She immediately felt nauseated and lightheaded. Her husband came to help her inside as moments later, her face began to swell, her mouth and throat experienced an intense, burning sensation, and she vomited. She described it as similar to an electric shock, and the symptoms... Blah,
easy for you to say.
And the symptoms lasted for hours.
As with the other mad Gasser victims, she reported feeling weak and experiencing paralysis in her lower body. They called the police, who took the cloth into evidence. As they searched the property, they also found a skeleton key, which is an illicit master key used to open a variety of locks, and an empty tube of lipstick nearby the porch. The Cords and the police hypothesized that the cloth had been left on the porch in order to knock out the family dog, which usually slept there, so that the prowler could break into their home undisturbed. These three pieces of evidence still remain the only physical evidence ever recorded of the Mad Gasser. However, none gives us any insight into who or what this Night Stalker was.
The same night, September 5th, a second incident was reported at the home of Mrs. Leonard Burrell. She reported seeing a stranger break in through her bedroom window and then attempt to gas her. And the sightings continued. The next night, September 6th, 7 more Mad Gasser-style attacks were reported. Here's a few of the reports. At 9 p.m., Mrs. Glinda Hendershot claimed to see a dark figure lurking near her home. Later, her daughter fell ill, leading Mr. Hendershot to believe that she had been gassed. At 10 p.m., Ardell Spangle reported smelling sickly sweet fumes, and she felt ill after. At midnight, Mrs. Laura Junkin reported smelling a strange odor while entering her apartment. She described it as like cheap perfume and almost immediately felt weak. She also reported that she had left her window open slightly. Also at midnight, Mr. Fred Gobble reported that he felt sick from a gas he saw being sprayed into his bedroom window. However, his wife, who was sleeping next to him, did not report any feeling of any sickness. Gobble's neighbor said that he saw a tall, thin man running away from Gobble's home that night. But who was behind the attacks remained cloudy, like a gas cloud.
Mm-hmm.
But just to be clear, sometimes gases can be invisible to the human eye, so be sure to always check your carbon monoxide detectors.
Very helpful. Now, as you could probably tell by now, the town was in complete Mad Gasser madness. But most of the reports filed were panicked Mattoon residents reporting strange odors. Needless to say, the small local police force of 2 officers and 8 patrolmen were overwhelmed with Mad Gasser mania. At one point, they brought in 2 FBI agents from Springfield, Illinois, the state's capital city, to help with the case. But their presence did little to stop the citizens' reports or catch the gassy culprit. Panic was widespread, and rumors began to circulate about who or what this prowler was and what chemicals it was using. Constant police patrols started occurring in Mattoon, even with their small force. That didn't stop the denizens of Mattoon to get involved. In fact, so many citizens began following the police patrols, hoping to catch a glimpse of this Mad Gasser, that the chief had to order anyone caught following the police patrols to be arrested. The patrols did apprehend a teenager who was out pulling an effing sick prank one night on his friend. They caught him tapping at the friend's window. But he was released after questioning and subjected to a polygraph. Still a frickin' rad prank, though. LOL. Blah, 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 blah.
You're a prank fiend.
Tapping on a window, what a friggin' sick prank.
That is
like,
a sick fucking prank, dude.
I mean, can you imagine, dude,
Can you
if you were
imagine?
like asleep and you heard a tapping on your window and you like look out the window and it's like, got you, dude. Effing got you.
Regardless of police patrols or horny pranky teens, Mad Gasser attacks continued to be reported. 7 more attacks were reported between September 7th and the 10th. Most followed along the same lines as the attacks on the 6th, seeing a tall prowler man in all black or smelling a stanky sweet odor. But one at the home of Miss Frances Smith, the principal of a local school, and her sister Maxine was particularly interesting. They reported being overwhelmed by gas and became sick. They began choking and felt partial paralysis in their legs and arms. The sweet odor began to fill the room as, quote, a thin blue vapor, and they heard a buzzing noise outside, which they believed to be the Mad Gasser's, quote, spraying apparatus. By this point, the Mad Gasser mania had reached its apex. Armed vigilante groups of Mattoon citizens were patrolling the streets, and the police were receiving so many false reports that the chief of police had to take action.
On September 12th, the Mattoon police chief, C.E. Cole, gave what he felt was his final statement on the Mad Gasser attacks. He stated, quote, "We find no evidence to support the stories that have been told. Hysteria must be blamed for such seemingly accurate statements of supposed victims," end quote. Furthermore, the whole case was, quote, a mistake from beginning to end, end quote. He also added that local company, Atlas Diesel Engine Company, was likely to blame for the gas and odors. The company had stored large quantities of carbon tetrachloride gas, and this must be what was causing the reported cases of illness and paralysis. Naturally, a representative of Atlas Diesel Engine refuted Cole's claims. They argued that if fumes were really leaking, then their employees would have gotten sick first. Also, at the time of the attacks, they had been certified as safe by the state health department. Regardless, this claim by Cole did put an end to the gas attack reports, except for one.
The last gas attack reported occurred on September 13th at the home of Bertha Birch. She described the attacker as a woman dressed in men's clothing, and who sprayed gas into a bedroom window of her home. The next morning, footprints that appeared to have been made by a woman's high-heeled shoe were found in the dirt below the window.
Do we know what kind of high heels? I mean, like pumps, platform heels, cones, peep toes, T-straps, Mary Janes, open toes, dorsets, stilettos, wedges, slingback, sling blade, scarpins, kitten, ankle straps, chunky, ruby slippers.
Jeez. Andy, you sure know a lot about the types of high-heeled shoes. Just another piece of canonized lore about your character, I guess. But no, we don't. We don't know what kind of shoe it was.
Oh, what a shame.
And with that, the Mad Gasser of Mattoon was no more. Given that this happened in the 1940s, has any new evidence turned up that gives us clues as to who this Mad Gasser was and what gas he was using? Just what happened in the town of Mattoon? Most believe nowadays that this was a case of mass hysteria. The, quote, Mad Gasser of Mattoon is considered one of the more famous examples of mass hysteria on record. In fact, about 2 weeks after the attacks began, the local commissioner of public health, Thomas V. Wright, he stated this: "There is no doubt that a gas maniac exists and has made a number of attacks, but many of the reported attacks are nothing more than hysteria. Fear of the gas man is entirely out of proportion to the menace of the relatively harmless gas he is spraying. The whole town is sick with hysteria."
But remember, this was 1944 during World War II. Gas attacks by German forces were a very real scare. The citizens of Mattoon had every reason to worry that this might have been some Nazi spy or attack. Why the Nazis would attack a small town in southern Illinois? Well, I can't think of a reason for that. But regardless, the bulk of these reports seem to be the result of panic. But Wright even concludes that a few have some validity. So just who was this Mad Gasser, and what did he use?
Who is your gasser and what does he use?
Get me to your spraying apparatus!
Author of the book, The Mad Gasser of Mattoon, Dispelling the Hysteria, Scott Maruna, believes that the Mad Gasser of Mattoon may have been a local resident named Farley Llewellyn. Farley was an exceptionally bright young man who had an exemplary record in high school and was a chemistry major at the University of Illinois. However, when he returned from university, it was obvious that he was suffering from severe personality and mental health problems. Farley was a suspected homosexual and an alcoholic and was, unfortunately ostracized for these things, adding to his already weakening mental state. His mannerisms started to grow increasingly strange. But at the time of the attacks started occurring, Farley was living in a trailer behind the grocery store that his parents owned in Mattoon.
Farley kept a not-so-secret laboratory in his trailer. Neighbors to Farley's trailer even reported an explosion in his trailer just prior to the Mad Gasser attacks. Maruna states that the first 3 victims of the gas attacks were all around the same age as Farley and were high school classmates of his. However, there's no proof of this. But it's easy to see the pieces falling into place here. In fact, a writer for the Fortean Times, John Downs, visited Mattoon in 2006 in order to uncover the truth about the Mad Gasser. He claims that because Farley's father was so beloved in the town and was a philanthropist, the town put up with UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy fanatics for decades asking questions in their town. But now that any Llewellyn relatives were either gone or passed away, the town people were ready to talk. Many, he claims, knew it was Farley and believed it to be him. They just didn't want to besmirch his father's name due to his son's actions. So, is Farley our fall guy? Art, let's talk gas. What kind of odors was this guy using in his stank bank? His stank bank. What kind of odors was he using in his stank bank? Art?
Well, Andy.
His stank bank.
His stank bank.
That's where he keeps all his stinky stank. In his stank bank. Art.
He made a deposit.
What odors? Yeah. I make more deposits than withdrawals. I got a big stank bank account.
Many, maybe obviously guessed it was chloroform, the classic chemical substance used in movies and TV shows alike to instantly knock out an assailant or victim with one big honkin' whiff. It is also said to have a slightly sweet odor or taste.
Art, I can confirm the odor. My wife has to chloroform me to sleep every night because I refuse to go to bed. I want to stay up late eating pudding and watching R-rated movies. Art!
More canon about you.
Yeah.
But our friend, but he doesn't know it yet, Brian Dunning, host of Skeptoid, did a little math to determine the amount of chloroform needed to fill up the, smallish houses of this city in Mattoon. He says, quote, "These were pretty small houses, and a quick calculation suggests that they enclosed perhaps 250,000 liters of air. Chloroform begins to take effect at 100 parts per million, thus requiring 25 liters of chloroform gas." End quote. So obviously this Mad Gasser wouldn't be able to carry around a spray gun with 25 friggin' liters of chloroform. Also, chloroform doesn't cause paralysis of the legs. So it kind of doesn't add up with the reports given in that regard. But what about nitromethane?
Oh my God, rad, dude. Nitromethane is a fuel additive in various motorsports to make motors go real fast. Like when Art and I have to drift race down the streets of Tokyo late at night with our best friend, American rapper and actor-musician Bow Wow. And it looks like the evil Yakuza boss is gonna win, but then Art tells me to hit the friggin' nitro, brah, and I hit that shit, and we go hella fast and win the big race and score all the hotties. Anyway, nitromethane is suggested as one of the gases to go with by author Scott Maruna of the book The Mad Gasser of Mattoon, Dispelling the Hysteria. He surmised that nitromethane, with its high volatility, would explain why police weren't able to find any traces of any chemicals or any remaining odors. It would also line up with causing a small explosion in Farley's trailer. Our Dunning, however, believes a different type of methane was concocted.
That's right. Meth.
Methamphetamine. Oh, my goodness.
Brian thinks he was probably messing with meth, which also lines up with the victim's symptoms and the explosion and apparently smells sweet in liquid form. I wouldn't know.
Me either.
Maruna believes that he may have also been synthesizing 1,1,2,2 tetrachloral ethane, C2H2C
L4,
which, as he writes, quote, "is a clear, oily liquid that is extremely volatile with a sweet, fruity odor." breathing high levels of this can cause fatigue, vomiting, dizziness, and possibly unconsciousness. Thus, was the Mad Gasser just a local outcast with an extensive knowledge of chemicals, extracting revenge on those he believes wronged him? Was it a case of town-wide mass hysteria? I suppose we can never know for certain. But listeners, that isn't gas you smell. That's a steaming hot plate of the whole enchilada on the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast will be right back after this brief message.
Serial killers, strange disappearances, unsolved mysteries, survivor stories. I'm Nate Hale, and in each episode of my show, The Conspirators, I dig deep and tell you the stories from history your teacher never told you. I tell you about all things strange and bizarre. And what's scariest of all? These things really happened. If you're interested in creepy history, you can find The Conspirators on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and our website, theconspiratorspodcast.com, as well as your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening.
Hey, welcome back, you stank banks. That was our research of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Listeners, you stinky winkies, welcome back.
Stinky winkies, get back from the stank bank. Get all your stanks.
I'll get back. I'll get back from smelling stanky bank.
Andy, Mad Gasser of Mattoon, huh?
Wow. What a tale.
Why'd you do it? You mad gassy motherfucker.
They should have called me the Mad Asser because all the gas came from my butthole.
The Mad Asser. What about the Mad Asner?
Yeah.
Tap dancing freak?
Ed Asner.
What about the Mad oh no, that's an Aspen. That doesn't make sense.
The Mad Bastard. I don't know who my father is. And it pisses me off.
You know, Andy, where you leaning here?
I gotta tell ya, I'm leaning hard into Farley Llewellyn.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's not really. Let me say this. The police chief tried to say that it was the diesel plant.
Yeah,
the diesel engine plant. And then just a case of mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Some of these reports obviously are the case of mass hysteria.
I believe so.
A lot of them, though, are not.
Oh. Interesting.
Well, maybe not a lot. I'll say some of them are not. Because the initial reports... Initial reports are not a case of mass hysteria because there was not mass knowledge of this condition.
Okay.
So the fact that there's 3 or 4 reports initially before it really catches on.
Yeah, there's three big main ones. The Kearneys, the Codes, the Reefs.
Yeah. So
yeah, those 3.
Yeah. So it's there were some that were legitimate. And, I mean, obviously there are some of these that people are hysterical about it.
Right.
But I do think that there were some legitimate gas attacks that happened. And honestly, Farley Llewellyn, okay, let me just say this right away. I'm no chemist, okay? So I don't understand chemistry. And you know what? I don't think that most people understand it.
Probably not.
I think probably most of the people that lived in Mattoon in 1944 didn't really understand chemistry that well.
You got to think, how many of those people are college educated? This is wartime, so most of the
youth probably doesn't exist.
The youth and able-bodied fighting men are off.
Right.
That you see that a lot in the research that that might have added to the mass hysteria because what is left behind is all the the families, the wives, just kind of
wives and children,
fucking old people,
right?
And they're just they're worried that they're being attacked and there's no one's helping them.
Yeah, but I think that lack of a chemical knowledge
Yeah.
plays into this, because if I smell something sweet in the air, I can't.
You're gonna think it's a big piece of candy, and you're gonna start. Or a pie, and you're gonna start floating.
I'm gonna lift off the ground
while
involuntarily.
sniffing that the odor, and you're gonna find yourself on a windowsill
as the visible odor goes into my enlarged nostrils.
That's right.
Which I've flared out to accept its sweet smell.
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah.
I can't analyze it. I couldn't sit there and say, well, this is like this, and this is my symptoms. So, which chemical seems like it's going to be the right one? Is it tetrachloroethylene or tetrachloro? Fuck my butt. I don't know. I don't friggin' know.
And don't fuck with tetrachloro. Fuck my butt.
It'll get you.
That's some nasty stuff.
Nasty.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This was a college-educated guy, and he obviously knew a lot more, than.
And he seems like he had an axe to grind, right?
I mean, yeah.
Real or imagined, it seems like he was an outcast living in a trailer back behind mommy and daddy's grocery store. And you know what? The research done after the fact is kind of compelling.
It is.
By the 14 times that, hey, people are like, well, now everybody's dead. Like, we can talk, that guy fucking sucked.
And a little bit of a bit of research left out of the script that probably, actually, now that I mention it, probably should have been added, is that I think the Llewellyn family started to suspect that it was Farley, because who the fuck else would know all this stuff?
Yeah.
Also, given the explosion, and he was, and also his mental state was declining, rapidly when he kind of returned from university. They, I think they sent him to a mental hospital, right around when the gas attack stopped. Like September 11th. Now, that doesn't really explain the 13th and some other things. Like some researchers, try and say well, tetrachloroethane has a half-life of this, and this. So it would have taken, this amount of days. And how could someone on the 13th still be? And it's like, okay. You're telling me that on the 11th, when the bulk of the attack stopped, is when also the day that he got sent to a mental institution and was no longer in the town? Okay. All right.
Right.
Okay, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what kind of gas are you huffing, right? Maybe you're hitting that little THC vape too hard, am I right?
Oh, boy. It's legal in Illinois now.
It's legal.
All kinds of fumes in Mattoon today.
Oh, yeah.
And every day, 2020.
The mad gassing for a different reason now.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's mad. Everybody's chill gassing now.
They're hotboxing.
Yeah, hotboxing. Wake and bake.
I mean, I agree with you, Andy. I don't necessarily blame the town for being scared. This was World War II. Gas attacks were a real thing.
I mean, people did nuclear drills during the Cold War.
Yeah.
I mean, even though there wasn't even credible evidence that the Soviets were going to launch nuclear missiles at us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that keeps people fearful. I mean, understandably so.
The Japanese did launch a balloon attack.
Yeah.
They sent balloons, and very little of them made it to the coast of California, but some did, and did hurt people and kill people. That happened.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah, I mean, that was a real fear that the Japanese would attack the West Coast.
Yeah, or, the Nazis would gas a small town in Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, that one's...
for vital information from that diesel company.
Right, yeah.
I think this is an example of, so often we look at stories like this and we go here's the incompetence factor. See a lot of incompetence here. I think this police force did the best it could.
Yeah.
They're small force. They never expected to deal with something crazy like this.
I don't think that they screwed it up, and I think that
nobody got hurt.
They rightly determined
nobody died.
That at some point it got out of control.
Right.
And that a lot of people, there's the famous example of the woman calling and saying that she felt ill from a weird odor, and it's because there was a spilled bottle of nail polish in her house.
Right.
I mean, it's like all that stuff, at some point the police force has to go, we have to get this under control.
Right.
We can obviously debate the merits of what the police chief did. Should you come out and just say everything's fake because you can't find out who was doing it? And who knows? I mean, maybe they were not doing anything because of Farley Llewellyn's parents.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to like offend the Llewellyn family.
And they got lucky.
Yeah.
Because if they had come out and said, nothing to see here, move along.
And then it just kept happening.
It kept happening.
Right.
Then they're fucked.
Right.
But they got lucky that they came out and said that, and then it immediately literally stopped that day.
Right. And we don't know what happened in the background. Maybe the police
know.
chief goes to Farley Llewellyn's dad and is like, come on, like, you get this under control.
Right. This is a small town. Everybody
Right.
knows each other. They know what
Right.
people know.
Yeah.
Some people like to think that maybe the attack on the 13th at the Birch House happened because it's one of Farley's sisters who apparently were also weird and never married and like weird homebody people who never left the house.
Oh.
One of them went out and did it as a way to shame the town. But, this is all
Conjecture,
hearsay.
yeah.
Conjecture.
There's also a possibility that that's not related at all.
Right.
That it's not even a gas attack. I mean, this is one thing about the whole thing is that nobody evaluated for this stuff because nobody, like the police force they weren't trained in chemical attacks.
And you got to remember,
nobody came and said, oh, we can figure out what these people are suffering from.
This is a police force made up of people who were like either probably too old to be in the military or like, when a war happens and a country does a draft,
yeah,
they take all the able-bodied people.
Yeah.
Like all the people who are fit to be soldiers go and they have to go become soldiers. And what happens is certain people get left in the reserves so that police forces and, hospitals and whatnot, there's still people left behind.
Right.
To do those jobs. But, they'll get you.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to disparage this police force, but they was probably made up of reserve people who, maybe are they did they want to be in the, I don't know. I don't know how trained they are or anything like that,
Do we know even if Bertha Birch got sick or she just said somebody sprayed gas in her house and then they found woman's footprints outside of her house?
Yeah, I don't know. I think she probably did. But, that's how all these stories are. People are just like, oh, there was a gas in my house. You know how much fucking weird, stinky shit I smell all goddamn day? With this big-ass schnoz I got? I smell shit all day long. I'm always smelling stanky stank. You smell stuff on the train stinks constantly. There's stinky smells everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You think if I reported every stinky goddamn smell, what a lunatic I'd be? I'm smelling stinky shit all day long.
Have you ever walked into a room where somebody has sprayed an offensive amount of perfume?
Oh, yeah.
It will make me lightheaded.
Oh, yeah.
When you first walk into it, I'll get a headache and stuff. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility to say that there were also copycats. Like maybe Bertha Birch's
other pranky
on the 13th
teens.
is just some woman dressed in men's clothing trying to pretend to be the mad gasser and going around and just with a little atomizer psh, 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 spraying
little Chanel number 5.
Dior. Maybe somebody who worked for the local Macy's. What would it have been at the time? Marshall Fields?
It would have been Marshall Fields.
The Marshall Fields store in Mattoon comes by. This is a weird gonzo marketing scheme for perfume.
Perfume commercials never make sense. So they decided to run a guerrilla campaign where they release some mad person to spray gas and everyone's like, ugh, fuck, it stinks. That didn't go well.
Every cologne or perfume ad involves a beautiful person or people in a desert. And it's just them being sweaty or doing something weird. There's this one with now Johnny Depp burying something in the desert. And then it's just at the end, it shows the name of the cologne and it's oh, I get it. That's what it smells like.
I guess. I really have never... I've taken advertising classes and I truly don't understand perfume ads. I think at some point in time, the culture of perfume ads just got weird and they were just we don't give a shit. That's just what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't understand them. I really don't. You always have some beautiful fucking person. They're swimming. They're half mermaid. They're doing weird shit. There's one where it's Jared Leto is dressed and they're 1960s, but they're running around in modern times with this girl who is she's beautiful, but she's like model beautiful. So she's like weird and interesting. You know, she's not like bodacious by any means, but you know.
She's not a rad babe.
She's not a rad honking babe on Baywatch, dude. Running slow-mo with the titties bouncing.
Big fake boobies. Oh.
She's like you know, like America's Next Top Model beautiful, where they're like weird and they're like weird-looking creatures. I'm serious, but like that's like models are like, they're like tall and gangly. And, you know.
Yeah, you have to be so thin to be a model, but it's also an asset to be very tall.
Right.
And so it's like a lot of tall, emaciated people.
Right. And so you get people like one of the contestants, like Creepy Chan. They're just creepy looking.
Mm-hmm.
They got these big old eyes. So anyway, the point of the thing is they're dancing around, and then they're in a supermarket, and then they go to like a diner, and then they're like in bed, and then it just says the name of the thing. I'm like,
yeah, that's what they are.
Is that the experience I'm gonna have when I put this perfume on? Or cologne?
Yeah, you'll become that model.
Yeah, I guess I'll become Jared Leto, and I'll be allegedly sexing up young teens.
Yeah, Jared Leto, Johnny Depp, a lot of winners in cologne ads.
Wasn't Johnny Depp actually found out? Wasn't it actually? I might be wrong on this. I think I read something that it was actually the opposite. That what happened?
That his wife beat him?
His wife abused him.
Well, I think that he said that.
Did he say that?
But I don't know that was ever proven.
It's not proven?
I mean, and besides.
I might have gotten fooled by something.
I mean, Art, isn't it possible?
I'm saying I just read it.
Isn't it possible that it's mutual?
It could be mutual. They could beat each other up.
Because I think what he was trying to say is that she hit him and then faked her own injuries or something.
Right. Listen, I'm not sitting here trying to defend fucking multimillionaire celebrities who were in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which were great, okay? But other than that,
anybody in Pirates of the Caribbean movies, we're not
other than like What's Eating
you.
Gilbert Grape, the Pirates of the Caribbeans, Chocolat. What the fuck else has Johnny Depp done?
A lot of stuff.
Rango, I guess.
Willy Wonka.
That wasn't good.
I didn't see it.
I'm talking about good stuff.
You know that mom in What's Eating Gilbert Grape wasn't even a trained actress?
Nope. She was just literally a 700-pound person.
Yeah.
That they found.
Then she became an actress after that movie. She acted in a few things. She was trying to get her career back on track when she died.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke, but...
Oh. I guess not. You can still make it.
No, I'm not going to make it.
Okay.
Can't think of anything.
What? You were just thinking you might make a joke?
I was trying to think of one.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Well, I had to keep things moving.
I don't know. Transition. Andy.
Hey, Art.
I think there's an interesting...
You got a question for me?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting discussion point here.
Well, okay, let's talk about it.
What's the line between hysteria and being a good, concerned citizen? Yeah. I mean, honestly, what do you think? You know, like it's like those signs on the CTA that say, if you see something, say something. Like, who's actually following that? Who's doing that? Who's paranoid enough that some person leaves their... Like, what's the line here? Because obviously mass panic of a community is really bad. Witch hunts are bad.
Yeah.
You know, when the Boston bombings happened, people on Reddit were quick to try and catch the Sarniev brother who had escaped and ran off, right?
Right.
And they, and if memory serves me right, they pinpointed the wrong person and like almost ruined that person's life.
That might be accurate. I don't remember that exactly, but I get where you're going with this.
But it's like they were trying to do the right thing.
Right.
If they had actually captured the right Sarniev brother, everyone would say like, "Oh, they're heroes."
Right.
But they did the wrong thing. So mass panic.
Right.
Wrong. You know, what's the line? Obviously, you have a bunch of concerned citizens concerned for the safety of their community, but they're making an investigation worse by calling in every little weird odor or shadow. You know? It's like that part in the serial killer story. Like, there's always that one person who, if they had just listened to this one person who's like, "I'm telling you, look at this evidence," and the police force is like, "No, it's definitely this," you know?
I get it.
They could have caught the guy, you know?
But I think that's
what do you
the thing.
think the line is?
I think that's the thing is that, you know, it takes so much effort by police forces to investigate these things that turn out to not be anything.
Yeah.
That sometimes real honest tips are ignored or don't get properly handled. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the line comes somewhere. I'll give you an example from my own life. I grew up in a rural area, and in the house I grew up in, we had a big picture window in the living room, and there was a screened-in porch outside of it. So you could see a lot from the living room. It's rural, so it's unusual there's no sidewalks, right? It's unusual to see people walking on the street. I saw somebody walking, and not walking all that fast, like clearly not walking for fitness, out in front of our house. Our house was, like maybe 50 yards or something from the road. And I'm watching this person, and they're like walking slow, and they stop, and they're kind of looking around, and they walk a little more, and there's nothing out there. I mean, it's just our yard, and there's a field across.
Except for your house to rob.
Well, yeah, and that's, I was home alone at the time, and I'm
You're
like,
about to crank.
I was standing in the window pantsless.
Yeah, mid-crank,
and I'm thinking, should I call like the sheriff and come and talk to this guy?
You have to call the sheriff?
Well, yeah, there's no local police force. We're not in an incorporated area.
Man.
So I'm thinking, should I call the sheriff and like have him come and like check this out? Do I need to get law enforcement involved just to like ask this person, should I go out there? Should I finish cranking and then go just see what this person's doing? And I'm like, that's a little dangerous. But I talked myself off the ledge. I'm like, no. Just wait and see what happens. Like if this person walks into the yard, then okay. Something's going on. Like then you got to do something. But I think a lot of people they'll see that and they just call the police.
I don't know.
I think that you have to draw the line for yourself and step back and decide what's a real issue. Because a lot of these things, if people would have stepped back and thought rationally, they probably would have never called the police.
Yeah.
The case of the girl getting sick, and the mom thinks that it's the mad gasser. Yeah, but why? Like, isn't it possible that your kid got sick for another reason?
Right.
You have no evidence to suggest that your child was gassed.
Right.
So I think that it's easy for people to get into mass hysteria. I think that good, concerned citizens are people that legitimately see something that unsettles them, and they think through it, and then they take an appropriate action. But I think that good, concerned citizens don't like immediately get law enforcement involved.
Well, what ended up happening?
The guy just kept walking. Who knows? I mean, 3 houses down the street got broken into. No, it didn't happen. That didn't happen.
I mean, but like, what if?
Yeah. I mean, sure, it could have happened. But like, I kept watching, and he just kept walking. Who knows? Maybe it's just a weird person.
Yeah.
People can be weird and not have any malintent.
True. You run into a lot of weird people.
Yeah.
I think, though, I don't know if I agree with you sometimes, because, like, think about, like, being on the train.
Yeah.
When there's, like, a weird, like, people just kind of deal with it. If there's, like, a crazy person or someone acting bizarre, they might shift away, but people are just like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Another day. Famously, I was on a train that literally caught on fire, and I stayed on the train for, like, 5 more stops, along with, like, 4 other people, as smoke billowed into the fucking train.
Yeah.
Like, I stayed on the train.
Yeah, the other day I was on...
It's not normal.
The other day I was on the train, and somebody had a seizure on the train.
Oh, really?
And, CTA came in, and they told everybody to get off the train, but it was in the middle section of the train. So I was at the long end of the train, and you know what I mean when I say that.
Yes.
Like, not the part where the conductor isn't.
Right.
And I wasn't at the front car or anything, so both ends were open, but there's more seats. I'm at the long end, away from the middle. People are just kind of hanging out there, but I didn't feel right. I got off the train.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, people will deal with stuff, and people then started like boarding the train. Well, four paramedics got there, but people deal with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. In those situations,
was it just
I never
like a
know
regular
what to do.
person?
Yeah, it was just a regular person.
Just had a
Just had a seizure.
like
Yeah.
someone coming home from work.
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, that sucks. You're
Yeah.
supposed to just like stand by them, and like I think just make sure that they don't bite their tongue, and that's it.
Yeah, somebody was like saying like put the person on their left side, and
Mhm.
somebody stay here, but everybody make some space. Don't crowd. So somebody knew what to do.
Was it like vicious, or was it just kind of like he just fell on the floor?
Oh, I didn't see anything. I think it was just in the seats. It was somebody sitting in the seats.
Oh,
So I think that somebody like probably fell over onto somebody else, and that's how they figured it out that they were having a seizure.
Mm.
But I don't know. I get conflicted in those situations.
Because you want to go beat up the seizure person?
No, not in the case of seizure, but
Fuck.
like you said, where it's somebody that's disturbed.
Sure.
I hate to say the word disturbed, but somebody that's probably got some mental illness. Because I don't know. It's like
Crazy. Yeah.
it's like if I push that button, if they're not doing anything,
Right.
if I push that button, the only thing the CTA is going to do is call the police.
Right.
And the only thing that's going to happen to that person is the police are either going to just be like, okay, well, knock it off and then leave, or they're going to take them to jail, which is also
you have
a
to
terrible
press charges.
Yeah, right.
And they'll take them to, they'll drop them off at like a psych ward or something.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
not
it's
that
like,
those are,
I don't know.
better.
It just, to me, it's like, is it that good either? Is
Right.
that good? Like, there's no, I wish that there was like, there was somebody you could call who knew how to handle these situations. I don't know. I'm
Or
stupid.
like if the CTA actually just put workers trained, or even like trained security, one person to patrol the train.
Yeah, somebody like at periodically throughout that could like handle a
Or even like
situation.
having CPD patrol the train. I don't know, like they do in New York. I don't know.
Well,
Would help.
Well, the thing is, like, CPD's not really trained even to deal with mental illness, right?
I mean, just to like, I'm just talking for like the crime that happens on the train.
Sure.
Like I read a story the other day it happened at like 6 or 7 in the morning on the Red Line. It was a guy trying to help because this disturbed vagabond was like getting in someone's face and like looking like they were going to do something.
Yeah.
So another guy got involved to just kind of like get him off of them. And the crazy guy stabbed him.
Yeah.
He got stabbed. That's
Yeah.
what you get for trying to, it's like, where's the line there? Like, should he have been concerned? Should we have just let the
Well, there's a difference between the way you kind of phrased it initially is like, oh, just somebody's there. Like, people will avoid a person who seems weird
right.
anyway. But then sometimes people are aggressive about it. And it's like, I think if somebody's getting aggressive, then you should do something.
Right.
And I don't know that, I think that like the trains have those little buttons that flags the conductor. I think that's better than always getting involved in the situation, because it's like, or do both,
Yeah.
I think some people are like, well, I'll just handle this myself. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't,
Maybe
maybe
then you got like my situation when I got punched in the face.
yeah, you
Some
didn't,
people like tackled him,
yeah. And that was good.
held him to the ground.
That was good.
Yeah.
People did the right thing. But that was a bunch of people working together, not just
And
one.
a CTA employee who was watching him because he was so notorious on the train for causing trouble.
See, like that's a bad situation, right?
Yeah.
But
I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
somebody should have like probably not let that guy ride the train.
Yeah. That's actually a good point.
Like that's a different, because he had a history.
he had a long
He had a history of assaulting people on CTA,
Yeah.
like in CTA vehicles.
And skipping the turnstile and assaulting people. And, I mean, I guess it's a little different. We live in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw some pesky teens jump the turnstile, like, are you going to fucking flag them down?
No,
Are you even going to give a shit? Like, I don't
No.
give a fuck.
No.
That happened to me the other day. I was like, whatever.
I'm like,
I'm like, fucking
skip the turns, making
piece of
my
shit.
fare more expensive.
make my fare more expensive.
But I'm not gonna say anything because
Yeah.
it's like three teens could take me. I mean, half a
They
teen.
could have their way with you.
All those teens want to have sex with me. I know it.
No, I know you're right. 3 pesky teens would beat the shit out of both of us.
Right. And you don't know. They might have weapons.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't, what am I going to do?
Right.
I'm so out of shape.
I went through the turnstile and just immediately it was like, I want to get to my train.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not
Just
going to
completely ignore.
And, you know, also we live in a city and we become callous to things. We walk by homeless people all day long.
Right.
It's part of the nature of civilization.
You know, people talk to you on the street and you have a sense of whether or not this person needs something or is
100%.
And then,
then they try and give you fucking grief for it. I hate that shit.
Sometimes you just ignore them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think I'm asking for? I know you're asking for something. I've lived in this city my whole life. Nobody comes up to you and you can tell immediately if they're a fucking tourist. You can tell immediately because they'll have like their phone out or there'll be like a family or they'll have like a fucking map. They'll be like, and they'll ask me, where's Michigan Avenue?
I've helped so many people with directions.
Yeah.
And you can tell because they stand around and you can tell they don't know what they're doing.
They stand around
instead of this person who is taking a laser line directly at you.
Right.
And then says, "Oh, what? You think I'm going to ask you for something?" And it's like, somebody said that to me once and I said, "Are you not going to ask me for something?" And he's like, "No. I'm just going to tell you my story." And I was like, "Okay. Thank you for your story. Goodbye."
Or when you got approached to go to the nude beach with that one guy.
Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, he basically propositioned me for a threesome.
Yeah, that's right.
With me and my wife.
Yeah. And you took him up on it.
Yeah, and he was not a generous lover. Focused a lot on my wife and not on me at all.
He doesn't employ cuck. He employs a different kind of cuck.
I had to just fuck him in the ass because he would not pay attention to me.
I don't know, Andy. I think
that'd be the best way to get back at somebody if they were like, have a threesome with you and all they want to do is have sex with your wife.
Be like, well,
I'm
going in your butt.
I'm going to fuck you in the ass.
Buckle up. Buckle up. Literally, I'm going to buckle you up.
I don't want you squirming.
I think with this case with Mattoon,
yes,
definitely there was mass hysteria. I think they overstepped the line. I think we can say that. I don't know if we can ever. There's so many varied examples. It's hard to say. It's hard to actually give a concrete answer on when are you being a concerned citizen and when are you just being a pest.
Yeah.
An overly a paranoid person.
Yeah.
If you see someone leave their bag behind on the CTA, are you going to freak out?
That's the thing is CTA tells you, hey, if you see a unattended bag, tell somebody. It's like, really though? I mean, most of the time I'll probably be like, well, there's nothing in this bag.
Yeah.
Like if I see a bag full, like a stuffed bag with wires coming out of it, then I'll probably.
A comical bag full of dynamite sticks sticking out. You're like,
Yeah. A briefcase with a TNT plunger next to it. Like, I'll probably say something.
Maybe.
But, people forget their bags on the CTA.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I don't want to touch it.
Right.
What if it is a bomb? I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I don't want a bomb residue on my
set
fingers.
it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I got enough legal troubles.
I feel like if you're the person who sees someone leave their bag behind, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to be like, hey, your bag.
Yeah.
Hey, sir, you forgot your bag. I've seen, people do that with, people generally are pretty decent sometimes.
You know what happens though?
Drop a hat or a glove.
Usually that happens, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, I've seen this happen before on the train. Somebody gets off the train and leaves something behind and somebody says, oh, you dropped this. Well, they have earbuds in, so they don't hear.
True.
And so they just keep walking. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to get off the train and chase you down. Like
right.
No offense to anybody. I'm a good person, almost, but there's a limit, right?
Right.
Like I'm not going to completely
go out of your fucking way.
Like, oh, you dropped this one glove. Like, well, if you can't be bothered,
it's a glove.
Yeah, you'll live. Like, you'll have a cold hand. So what? They'll call you Cold Hand Luke.
You'll eat 50 eggs. It'll be a great day. Yeah, I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I guess so.
Looks like what we have here is a failure to cooperate. Does it communicate?
Communicate, I think.
Yeah. Big aviators. Decent movie. Weird movie, but decent. Who stars in that?
Steve McQueen.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anywho, I also feel like in this case, if we're talking about the difference between a concerned citizen and mass hysteria, people also crossed the line, maybe not intentionally. And what I mean by that is I'm thinking about the fact that people suspected Farley Llewellyn.
Yeah.
Yet he's not really discussed in 1944.
Right.
It doesn't seem like they investigated him. So if people suspected him...
Handsome Brian Dunning, award-winning Brian Dunning, went our friend, but he doesn't know it yet.
Soon to
Listeners,
be friend.
hashtag get Brian on bunker.
Bunker Brian.
He did some record searching in Mattoon and did find traces of the Llewellyn family, but I don't think he could find a Farley. Now, this is fucking 1944.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know the record keeping.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was stricken from the record. Who knows? You know, I don't know. But the Llewellyn family did live in Mattoon.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, Andy, I really do think you have small town experience. You know what that's like. I think maybe the police maybe did go to the Llewellyn family and say, like, hey, listen, come on. Your son is the only person in town. We know he has a chemistry degree. Everybody knows he's the only person from this town who went to college.
Right.
You know, like how many people went to college in 1944?
Like with a small town perspective, I mean, I'll tell you that this is not unusual, right?
Right.
It's like if you're like a respected person in a small town,
they'll protect you.
Yeah, you'll get a certain amount of protection.
Right.
Like what?
Can't go around GTA style murdering hookers and then taking your cash back after you had sex with them.
What Farley Llewellyn did was trespassing, and I don't know what the crime would be. Maybe it's assault?
Assault. If you spit on someone, it's assault. I think gassing someone's house is a little bit.
But at the same time, nobody suffered any long-term effects.
Right.
Like the worst that happened to anybody is they couldn't move, they threw up, probably they shit their pants. I mean, at least that's what happens to me. Every time I can't move, I throw up and shit my pants. So, I mean, at the end of the day, even if he was doing this, nobody suffered a lot of long-term ill effects from it.
Right.
And nothing was ever stolen. And it doesn't even seem to me that theft was probably the motive, right? Like, it seems more like somebody who's a chemist who's just like messing with people.
Nothing was ever stolen. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
This seemed like someone who just wanted to fuck around.
Yeah. This is like it's a terrorist attack, basically.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Really, you're right. He just wants to spread terror.
It's just terror. And so I can imagine a situation where, especially in 1944, you know, that the police would maybe just go to the Llewellyns and say, like, look, we think your son is doing this. Do something about it.
Yeah, we got the fucking FBI here.
The FBI's here. Like, if he doesn't knock it off, they're going to figure it out. And
if he doesn't quit that shit and cut it out.
Dave Coulier was chief of police.
Was the chief of police at the time. Who knew?
Playing one of his greatest roles of all time.
I mean, decades.
And then so they were like, okay, fair enough. Point taken.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, sometimes parents too, like,
oh yeah,
even if he lived in the trailer, like, they might think, oh, he's so weird. Like, we're not going to go back in there and figure out what he's up to. Like,
or
he's eccentric.
He's the black sheep of the family. It's kind of like you kind of want to forget.
Yeah, they maybe are super interested in his life, and so they don't even notice that he's like.
It's 1944.
Sneaking out at night.
It's not to say that small towns today are any less judgmental or bad, but like you have to imagine in 1944 is probably heightened. So the fact that you have someone suffering from mental illness, which was probably not something that people talked about, right?
There's a different relationship to mental illness now.
Yes. And then you got the suspected homosexuality, which is, you know.
That's another thing that there's a different relationship now.
The alcoholism.
Yeah.
So on top, you got all these three things. He is a
drunk gay man who's suffering from mental illness.
Who loves chemicals.
I mean, it's a hat trick, right? For like people to just want to try to ignore him and judge him.
Right.
And so, I mean, I can see why he would be resentful and why he might want to just like make people's lives weird for a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could also see the police not really digging in that much and just going to the Llewellyns and telling them, hey, and then that's when it stopped. And then I could see them also coming out and saying, well, it's probably the diesel engine plant because they had the gas there. Yeah. And so even if it wasn't leaking anything, I mean, I agree with the plant manager. Like, why wouldn't the employees be sick?
It wasn't like the plant was in the town either. It was
right. It was
near the town.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't.
So you would have employees that were hella sick before any of the townspeople got sick.
Yeah. Yeah. And there should have been people like in between the plant and the town, theoretically, who were
You would have
sick.
seen like a very distinct, like,
it'd be like the fog.
Yeah. Like a line. It would start in one corner of the town and sweep in.
Yeah.
Because Mattoon is gridded. It's not like, I'm pretty sure it's like I saw like a picture of the city and it's like a gridded town with like a big main road, classic small town America.
Right.
So the fact that these were very specific towns, the fact that allegedly these are high school classmates, people that Farley would have known. I mean, I think what we're getting at here with our verdicts. And if you don't have anything else, Andy, we can jump right in.
Yeah, let's jump right in. I mean, I'll go hard on this right now.
Yeah, go ahead, go hard.
Is it Farley Llewellyn? Case closed for me. Case confirmed. Case confirmed. Case confirmed. It's Farley Llewellyn. You know, I think it was mass hysteria. So I don't think that all these attacks should be attributed to him, but I think the attacks that happened should be, with the possible exception of the one on the 13th of September, which I don't know about that one, but I don't think that it was either a copycat, or it was just somebody pulling a prank and there was no actual gassing.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me like, that it was reported that somebody was outside the house, but it doesn't seem like it was reported that there was any gassing symptoms.
Right. I mean,
it's just everything lines up to say that it's Farley Llewellyn.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm going to say case confirmed on him.
I'm going to agree with you, case confirmed, but I'm also going to say case confirmed. It is also mass hysteria.
Fair.
You know, I do believe that, and a lot of, Thomas V. Wright says that, even our friend, but he doesn't know it yet, Brian Dunning.
Yeah.
Brian Dunning has a habit of saying, like, there isn't enough evidence, so I don't care. And I'm kind of like, come on, Brian. Come on, Bri. Come to bat.
Getting him off on the wrong foot here.
Play here, dude. No, but he's always like, I think he's in agreement that it was most likely also Farley, and then also mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Some trickster is running around playing a dangerous prank, a terrorizing prank. And, because we don't know his motive. Did he actually want to hurt and kill people and he just failed at it? Or
right.
He just kind of did he know that whatever chemical he used would just kind of give them a little bit of a shock and they'd be fine?
Right. I mean,
seems like maybe he did.
Yeah. If you know anything about chemicals, you probably know that, like, here's going to be a thing that I can do easily that won't hurt people long term. It'll just make them feel weird for a little bit, and then they'll be fine.
Right. So I think I'm in agreement with you there, Andy. Case confirmed. It's Farley and mass hysteria. There was no night prowler or half man, half ape hybrid thing that lurked in the night, which apparently one lady said. But I couldn't confirm that in any other research, so I kind of left it out.
Yeah.
But it's in the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, case confirmed. So listeners, that was our verdict on the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Let us know what you think. Use the hashtag MadGas that I'm looking to pass.
Okay.
Hashtag MadGas that I'm looking to pass. And let us know what you think.
Boy, I think that just about puts the finishing touches here on this Mattoon salad.
God damn it.
And folks at home, just remember to...
How long were you thinking about that during my verdict?
I wasn't. Just 2 seconds. That's all it took.
Yeah.
And folks at home, just remember to have your pets sprayed or neutered.
Okay. All right. Well, Andy, unless you have any last words, we can get out of here.
Let's go home.
You have any last puns you want to get out?
Nope. I got them all done.
Okay. I can, hey.
Art, you're singing Matuna.
You're a big Makuna tuna. Big Kahuna tuna.
Matuna Makata. I loved going to the Italian restaurant in Mattoon, though, where I got Matuna Ricotta. Such a wonderful dish.
Yeah. Matuna ricotta. Ain't no Olive Garden piss. It tastes real chewy for the rest of your days.
You'll taste it forever.
Hakuna Matata.
Ricotta,
whatever. Anyway, for the titular Mr. Bunker.
And for the good people of Mattoon, Illinois.
And for the good people of Mattoon, Illinois. And for my Nagan.
What? Oh, he's going to play the pronunciation.
Brobdingnagian.
What?
My Brobdingnagian.
What?
Have to look it up.
Oh, boy.
This comes off my head, though.
Yeah, this is obviously a word that Art knows and loves. Brobdingnagian.
Co-host Andy Hart. I'm Arthur Stone saying that was the whole enchilada.
Brobdiyummian.